Good. Here we go. You should see level of oil. See, and it's a little bit hard because I'm fighting against the pressure in the compressor. But just to show you that this pump is able to add oil even with the refrigerant or nitrogen inside the system. I put the flashlight, let's see if we see. Oh, there it is. If you look at the closer now, let me see the flashlight. If I move the compressor, now you can see the oil level right there. Good, so we're done. Now, remember to pretty much close this. Remember to close the valve and try to also put a rag right here because remember there's pressure, a little bit of pressure, so make sure you put a rag here when you disconnect this one here because there's going to be oil coming out. There you go. And then disconnect this one from here. Okay. And we're done using the pump. So this is when it gets a little bit messy because there will be oil leaking everywhere. So make sure you got a rag. Make sure you have a separate container for the pump for the mineral oil and another pump for POE oil. Because remember, you cannot mix oils. So make sure you dedicate tools for specific oils. You're going to have either mineral or POE, which are the most common for air conditioning and refrigeration. So let me put this back here. Okay, just for now on the floor, and then we're going to clean the mess. Let's gotta keep going with the video. And now, so now the system, excuse me, I'm going from the camera. Now the system, as we know, that it has enough oil in the system, and it's ready to, to do the, backseat the valves, and you can now run the compressor. But now, what if you want to recover? What if you want to recover what you call it? Let's say you want to take off that oil from the compressor. Okay. So now I'm going to show you. Okay. Now, in order for me to get the oil out of this compressor, the compressor has to be. You have to front seat the compressor, and the refrigerant that is strapped right now into the compressor, it has to be recovered. Okay. But you guys know, we know that I didn't put refrigerant. What I did is I put nitrogen. So what I can do right now is just release the nitrogen. I have to release the nitrogen to this inside so I can remove this connection and put a special hose so I can get the oil out. Okay? So let me release the nitrogen. Let's put the rag over here. And it's gonna be a little oil coming up. I'm just releasing nitrogen. I can also do it through the high side. There you go. Almost done. There you go. So there will be no more nitrogen in the system. And why I did this? Because if I would take this connection, this is to remove the oil. If I would take this connection out, all the oil is going to be coming in the face. We don't want that. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab my adjustable wrench, remove the cap. This is the cap that was leaking. Some of these companies make a special valve that you can put this connection so you can change the oil out of the compressor without doing all the steps. They make some special valves. I do have one somewhere in the back. Okay, now what we're going to use is the other hose. This one. And this hose, it has a cut. See that? It has like a 45 degree, or I would say something like maybe more than 45 degree cut in angle. So what I would do is bring the hose inside into the compressor crankcase and try to get all that oil from the bottom of the crankcase of the compressor. Okay? Now, we don't need this oil anymore. Let's cap it. And then we're going to bring the small container which I left it back here. Okay. Yes, and we're gonna put the small container here, and this is where you can actually press 0. And this way, whatever refrigerant you get into the container is gonna give you a weight, you know, how many ounces or pounds of oil. Okay. Now let's go back. Let me get through it. Sorry. All right. Now, to get the oil out of the crankcase to the compressor, we're gonna have to add nitrogen again. Okay. We're gonna add a little bit of nitrogen. And as I'm adding nitrogen, you're gonna see the oil start coming out of here, and then I'm gonna put this one right here into the container, and you're gonna see how the oil is gonna start coming out, right? Now, on the it says that you're supposed to use like a putty, plumber's putty, to put it around here, so you don't get a leak of a nitrogen coming out of the connection. Okay? I'm gonna try to just use my finger just to block it as much as possible, but then you're gonna see the oil coming out, okay? Here we go. Let's add, this is open. It's set to 50. Let's start adding, hold it, and watch it, okay? Watch the oil. As I'm adding nitrogen, you can see how the oil is coming out. And like I said, try to cover this hole as best as possible. See that? By the way, the oil is a little bit dirty. And once that happens, you can actually grab this and go more at the bottom. Don't allow it to get a lot of nitrogen because it's going to make a lot of bubbles. Just go slowly and try to cover and get the bottom as much as possible. There you go. Okay. Now, like I said, this is a little bit messy job, so you gotta be careful and not to shoot their oil all over the place. But there you go. That's how we do get the oil out of the system. Now let me get a rag. This one is not the best. That's fine. Let's use this one. Okay. Just kind of clean around. Okay. And there you go. Now remember, let's kind of recap. I have to, in order for me to take the oil out of the compressor, I have to remove either the freon or the nitrogen. And in order to remove the freon and nitrogen, you have to front seat the kinga. You gotta front seat this one and front seat the high side. If you don't front seat it, there will be a lot of freon coming from the whole system, and then you're gonna, bend the freon. And you're supposed to bend the freon. So that's why you have to front seat the kinga. Once you front seat it, it cancels the access from the evaporator and also the access to the condenser. So you only have access to the service valve. So you can see what's the pressure in the system. You can add nitrogen to get the oil, or you can also recover the freon because, well, it should be some freon inside the compressor. Okay? So there you go, guys. Let me get this hose out. You can just keep doing it a couple of times until you get all the oil. And like I said, this is a message, so you gotta make sure you drain it out. And take a look at the weight. So far, this is how much oil we got from the system. Give me 1 second. And then whatever you get out of the system, you can put it back. But in this case, in this type of compressor, we don't need to worry about this too much because then we can actually see the sight glass. And like I showed you before, when the system doesn't have oil, there's no oil in the sight glass. When you put oil, then you can see it. Okay. All right. There you go. This is the steps of adding oil and replacing, taking out the oil from a semi-hermetic compressor. Now, let me show you how would you do it in a hermetic. This is a different story. Real quick. Here. Inside. Let's put this back. Let's get the hermetic compressor. Right. On the hermetic compressor, I just wanted to show you the example of a king valve welded into the hermetic compressor. But normally, this type of compressors will not have king valves. If you don't have a king valve, it's just going to have a piece of pipe, and on this side, it's going to just like this. It's going to have a piece of pipe, right? If you want to do what I just did to remove the oil without recovering the freon, it's not possible. So why? Because there's no way you can cancel the refrigerant going to the condenser or to the evaporator. So in this type of compressor, or the scroll compressor like that one, okay, to get the oil out, you're gonna have to put it on the side. So, well, first of all, let me tell you, you have to recover all the freon. You gotta get all the freon from the system first, right? Which that's gonna be a big job. Recover. Then you go into the system and remove the connections or cut the copper pipe, just like this one here. They cut it. See that? You gotta cut the pipes. Make sure you leave some piece of copper so you can brace another connection. Cut them off. Once you cut it off the connections, you're gonna have to unbolt, remove the bolts that is holding the compressor into the condenser. Excuse me. Grab a container, put the container in a table, just like this one, and then tip. The oil will start to coming out of the suction line, not the high pressure line, not this one, the suction. So what you do is hold the compressor and just tip it over until you get the oil. By the way, you have to put another container. Someone's gonna help you, or you can put the container on the floor and then just keep going like this. The same thing is gonna be done with the scroll compressor. Now, you gotta be careful with this one too, because this is very heavy compressor, so the same thing you're gonna have to do done with the scroll compressor, okay? The oil will coming out of here, and then you need to what? Tip it over to get the oil out. And these are very heavy, so be careful with your back. Make sure it doesn't fall on you and your feet, and then you get hurt. Okay? Now, what if you want to add? Once you get the oil out, let's say you want to replace the oil. What if you add some oil to the compressor? You're going to do the same thing. When you grab your container, this time you're going to have to wait it. It's important. Let me take the oil out of here. It's very important that when you add oil into this type of compressor, you're going to have to wait it. Why? Because there's no sight glass. Take a look around. There's no sight glass. There's no way that I can say, oh, how much, do we have the right level oil? The same thing with the scroll compressors. They normally don't have sight glass. So that's why you have to wait it. You want to make sure how many ounces. You're going to have to go into the Copeland website and go to the technical specifications and put the model number of this compressor and find out how many ounces of oil you can actually add into this compressor or that one, whatever. Or sometimes they even says on the nameplate of the compressor. It will tell you the type of oil and how many ounces. Most of the time, you're gonna have to find out from the company website and try to get the information. Okay? So what you do is just put the container here, open the cap, put the pump, get the pump with the hose, connect it either here into the low side, remember, low side, and start pumping until you get the right amount or weight, and then you stop. And that's the way you add oil into the hermetic compressor. It could be a reciprocating or it could be a scroll compressor. Okay? That's it to add the oil to the system. And I was going to show you other things that for just a second. Here we go, this one here, and there's a couple of reasons why we pretty much replace the oil in the compressor. And one of the major things is because the oil inside the compressor is contaminated. And we're talking about not just moisture or water, we're talking about acid. Acid that it was built inside, or the acid level is already too high. So once you find out that there's a lot of acid into the system, you're gonna have to recover all the freon and the oil. Okay, you're gonna have to replace the oil in the compressor. Now, there's a couple of tools that you can use. For example, this one, the quick check, you can use to find out if there's acid on the system. But you have to do this when there's freon in the system. Okay. There's also another brand. This one works okay, you know, not the best, but it's okay. There's another brand that is called Quickmate. I think it was the brand. That one also, it's a really good one. Let me see if I can grab my phone. And before I, here we go. Give me 1 second. Yeah, almost done. It's actually called Checkmate. I'm sorry. It's called a Checkmate. And this brand, I don't have that one right now in this moment. I believe it's in my truck. This one will tell you with the moisture contamination. It also tells you the acid contamination. We're talking about numbers, not just that, oh, yes or no. It's actually talking about the level of the moisture or acid into the system. So it's called the Checkmate test kit. So that's another one that you can use. And by the way, the Checkmate, you can actually test the system even when it's running or when it's not running. You don't have to remove the compressor. You can just do it in the system, okay? So that's for finding out if the oil is contaminated in the compressor. But then also, you can also use this company, which is for new column, is the RX11 flush. This here, it's a really good product to remove or to clean the line set into the system. It is not meant to use in compressors and evaporators. It was meant just for the line set, just to flush the line set, make sure to remove all the acid. Any acid that was built in the system, you can actually do it with this RX11 flush. Okay, it's a good product. I've been using it a couple of times and it works very, very good. Okay, by the way, for any retrofit, it's excellent. If you want to retrofit from R22 for 47C, this is what you need to use to clear the line set through the whole system. Okay, so this is RX11, the acid kit for the system, and I think we did cover everything. Did I put any tools on this side? Nothing. Okay, good, we covered, and it's everything. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. That's all the whole thing, and you guys very much for this video, and see you guys later.